What's up, my fellow monkeys? Today we're going to be talking about buying big in CSGO and basically the concept of using the multiplication effect. So we're going to get into that after a quick word from our sponsor, Skinport.com. Skinport is a great site to use if you want to get any of your CSGO investments for quite a cheap price. They have a very minimalist site design, which is going to be great for surfing around the site and finding the best deals on all of your CSGO investments to increase your profit margins. So if you want to go ahead and check out Skinport.com, be sure to use the link in the description below. They also have a great trust factor rating, which is very important as well. So be sure to check them out. I also have a very nice Discord server that you're going to be able to join with the link in the description below. It's a great place to go for all of your investment questions, especially if you want to talk to a lot of the intelligent members there. However, there is, of course, unintelligent members like Hopping Hatter. Anyway, let's continue with this video. So what is buying big? Well, buying big consists of two basic principles, and that's basically going to be buying a lot of an item to take advantage of the multiplication effect, and also using the low entry points to guarantee a pretty solid ROI. So let's talk about what that means. So hypothetically speaking, let's say a new case comes out into CSGO and you wait for a bit and the case drops down to 3 cents per item. So that means every single time you buy a case, you're going to be spending 3 cents, which is the minimum on the Steam Marketplace. This is pretty important because a 3-cent entry point is the absolute lowest you can get in on any item for, because 3 cents is obviously the lowest price someone can list an item for on the Steam Marketplace. Now let's say in the future the case ends up getting discontinued and it shoots up to a price that allows you to take home 6 cents every time you sell one of these cases after tax. Now this is very easy for the case to do, and it's a very easy thing that happens all the time in the marketplace. Items that get discontinued or become unobtainable or are just generally unobtainable after they first come out eventually go up in price because they end up not having any extra supply added to the marketplace in the future. For example, take the Shadow Case investment where I bought 300 of them at 9 cents each. They currently are at 17 cents. They've gone up quite a bit since then. So if I were to go ahead and sell all 300 of these Shadow Cases, I would make a profit of 6 cents per Shadow Case times 300. That's actually an $18 profit for an initial cost of around $30. Now in the grand scheme of things, 9 cents to 17 cents is not very hard for the Shadow Case to achieve. It's actually pretty easy for it to achieve, all things considered. Obviously the volume and the quantity of the Shadow Case make it a little bit slower because so many of them are able to be traded and sold every single day, but from a 9 cent standpoint to a 17 cent standpoint, not very hard. If we compare this to something like the Desert Eagle Emerald Jormungandr, obviously that was a higher profit margin, around 10 times, but it was very hard for it to go from $8 to $120 and required a lot of people selling their stock and dispersing it into the general public. So clearly it was a lot harder for the Emerald Jormungandr to achieve its price than it was for the Shadow Case to achieve its price. Basically what I'm trying to say is it's a lot harder for an item to go up $50 than it is for the item to go up 50 cents. Furthermore, mass buying smaller items is also a very good way to take advantage of the multiplication effect that I mentioned before. Basically, look at it this way. I was able to buy the Shadow Cases at a very cheap price, 9 cents for 300 of them, and that allowed me to get a huge amount of them. Let's say those go up to $1, which is obviously pretty crazy for it, but let's just say it happens hypothetically. That means I'm going to make a massive amount of money off of them because I have 300 of them, so it's 300 times whatever the profit margin is. Now when it comes to 3-cent items, the absolute lowest price someone can actually list an item for, those items are very easy to even just double. So if they go from 3 cents to 6 cents, that's actually pretty easy for the item to achieve, especially if the item is discontinued or something like a Broken Fang item. Speaking of Broken Fang items, the MP9 Army Sheen has been somewhat of a popular topic with people that are using the buying big tactic, so let's talk about that. If the item is going for 10 cents in factory new right now, which is going to be the buy-in obviously, then you're going to be spending $30 for 300 of them, let's say. If that item does rise to 20 cents after tax, you make 2 times profit, 300 times over, which is $60 with a profit of $30, which is actually pretty realistic. And obviously if the item rises to $1 after tax, you make 10 times profit, 300 times over, which is $300 with a profit of $270. But that's obviously pretty unrealistic. This MP9 Army Sheen is a pretty good example of the multiplication effect and how you can buy for a very cheap price and make quite a lot of money. That's obviously because the item is unobtainable after Broken Fang ends, which means there's not going to be any new quantity being added to the market. Obviously the item is also a gray, which also works in its favor because people can't trade up to it. Now you're probably wondering what the catch is. Obviously this is very cheap, there's a lot of profit that you could potentially make, and these items are pretty easy to find unobtainably and can actually be more unobtainable than other items in higher tiers because the grays obviously can't be traded up to. So what's the catch? Well, the catch is these items have very low demand and they don't move very often after stuff like the Broken Fang operation ends because there really isn't any hype around the items. Now it's unlikely, but it is possible that these items can stagnate, which is basically because the item never sells, and so people that are selling the item obviously try to undercut each other more and more until the item just stays at a very low price and no one wants to buy it. Furthermore, this MP9R machine in particular is actually at 10 cents right now, quite far above the 3-cent entry point that you could potentially have, because that's the cheapest you can obviously sell an item for on the Steam Marketplace. So because the item is already at 10 cents, it does actually have some room to go down, which is sort of an interesting thought and something to think about before you choose to do this. As with any investment, there's going to be risks, and there's still risks with this choice as well, despite the entry point being so cheap, so just keep that in mind when you're going forward with a strategy like this. To close off this video, I'm going to talk about a few items that I think are good to buy into for a strategy like this that I think have a bright future. So let's talk about that. Starting off, we have, like I mentioned before, the MP9R machine, obviously a very low entry point at around 10 cents for a factory new, and obviously they're going to be discontinued after this operation. However, I would say the MP9R machine is probably the most popular method of using this strategy right now, so maybe look at some other grays from Broken Fang. I think all of the grays are really going to fall under this category because obviously they're going to be discontinued after the operation. This also applies to Shattered Web grays. However, by now those have risen quite a bit, so it's a little bit on the late side if you want to get in on a low entry point, but they are still pretty cheap. The Prisma case is also actually a good option if you're in it for the long term. Obviously, the Prisma case is going to take a while to be discontinued if it ever does become discontinued and CSGO doesn't die out before then, but if it does become discontinued, you're going to make pretty good money on it because it does actually have a very low cost of entry at 5 cents right now. Similarly, the Danger Zone case is in the same boat. It's at 6 cents right now, but also if you're in it for the long term, maybe if you want to just buy something and then quit CS and go do something else for a while, then obviously those are good options. Clearly, though, they are somewhat newer cases, so they are going to take a longer time to end up getting discontinued. Obviously, there are some grays that you want to avoid. For example, the items that drop in-game that are around 3 to 4 cents, those ones are going to pretty much stay at that price and not go any higher unless some crazy manipulation happens or way down the line the drop collection gets discontinued, which is very unlikely and not a good choice. And for capsules, there's the RMR capsules. Those are new and about $1 right now. If a sale does happen, those will probably end up going down to 25 cents per capsule, but if a sale doesn't happen, they'll obviously stay at $1. So those could be good options down the line, but again, like my previous video stated, there's a lot of risk associated with RMR because there's a lot unknown about it, so proceed at your own caution. Really, the main focus though right now is on Broken Fang because those are going to be the cheapest grays you can pretty much get into from a collection that are going to be discontinued, and they probably have the most profit potential overall. So if you are looking to get into one, that's the one I would really recommend focusing on right now, but there are other options if you're interested in them. So that's basically all there is to say on this topic. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Hopefully it didn't take up too much time. I wanted to make this one a little bit shorter and kind of just explain the core concepts and some of the core items that are at the center of all of this, and kind of just sum up all of that in a clear and concise way. If you did enjoy the video, be sure to leave a like on it. Also be sure to subscribe to the channel for all the best and fastest investment tips anywhere else on YouTube. And of course, be sure to join my Discord server for all of the greatest, most intelligent minds in the world, except for Hopping Hatter. And also check out Skimport to support my channel and buy some of the cheapest investments you can afford. I also have a Twitter account where I occasionally post updates to certain things or just post some stupid memes, so that's also an option and also linked below. Look at that, you made it all the way to the end of the video. That means that you probably liked it, and you should go ahead and leave a like and a subscription. Anyway, that's about it. See ya. Peace.